Hey everyone, I'm Anya Esma. Welcome to this video about daily tarot practice. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for being here again. If you are new, I am a tarot reader and a generally spiritual, witchy person, and I make content about self-expansion, self-reflection, and just, using tarot to get to know yourself better and to help us on our path through this world. So let us talk about tarot as a daily practice. In this video, I want to outline why tarot as a daily practice might be right for you and how I personally do it, which means that I will give you 3 methods of a daily tarot practice that have been meaningful to me. Now, of course, a daily practice isn't always useful. There are just phases where we engage more intensely with tarot cards, with our own self-development, and then there are phases where maybe it's a bit more practical. We live more in our everyday life without necessarily engaging with tarot as a tool to help us and to guide us through it. Especially for beginners, though, it can be useful to have a daily tarot practice, and I want to go into why. So in this video, you will learn how I do my own daily tarot practice and why I do it and what reasons for you could be to establish one, to reactivate one if you've had one in the past, or maybe it's not right for you at all. And we're going to go into all of that. So the biggest why for me is that I study tarot and I love studying tarot through daily practice, because if I engage with it every day, if I engage with one card or multiple cards each day, I will get to know their meaning better. You will be able to understand how energetically the tarot cards link with things that happen in your everyday life if you reflect on them every day. So study is the first big why. The other big why for me is when I have a new deck, because if you get a new deck and you look through all of the cards, it takes a little bit to connect with the imagery, connect with the new input that you get from it, the new perspectives that it takes on traditional tarot possibly, so that a daily practice and a daily card will help you see what specifically this deck has to offer for you. So that's the second why. And the third big why is simply guidance, because sometimes we feel like we are in a period of insecurity or a period of transition. We are learning something new about ourselves. Maybe you just did a huge healing spread, a huge shadow work spread, or had a realization about yourself that was very enlightening, and now you want to see how you can take that into the everyday life, because all of those self-experiences, all of those numinous moments that we can have with ourselves are only worthwhile if we then manage to take that knowledge into our everyday life and actually engage with it, and not just have this one momentous experience and then sort of forget about it. And a daily tarot practice can help you take bigger healing lessons into the everyday. So those are the 3 big whys for me: studying, learning a new deck, getting to know a new deck, and also bringing bigger lessons into everyday life and sort of distilling it down to what is useful for me to know in my everyday life. Quick interlude before we get into the 3 practices that I want to talk about. I want to say that in order to have a daily tarot practice, you do not need to draw a card every day. You will see this in the practices that I'm about to show you, but I feel like it's worth mentioning again, because some people think a daily tarot practice always involves drawing a card every day, but not necessarily. So let me show you how I do it and how I relate to these 3 practices. I will talk about when I use them, how I do it exactly, so that maybe you can integrate a new practice in your life. Also, if you have a daily tarot practice, I would really like to hear what you do. Put it down in the comments, because I'm just experimenting with a lot of different approaches, and I love, every week trying something different, trying another method of a daily practice. So tell me about your daily practice in the comments so that I can try it out. And if you're ever interested in hearing of these experiments, also let me know, because I know that there's like a lot of YouTube videos about I try XYZ celebrities diet for a week, or I try their workout routine for a week. And sometimes I feel like I want to be the person who tries other people's tarot routines for a week, except that's not really common knowledge about most people, so I can't just do that. But anyways, so if you're interested in that, I would like to find a way to do that, and I think it sounds really fun. So let me know if you have any ideas on that, if you know any celebrities and happen to know their tarot routines. All right, so let's talk about the 3 methods that I use most often in my daily tarot practice. The first method is the least time intense. So it's good in those busy weeks when you really just have one day to plan your whole week, and then it's just go, go, go. You're very busy in your everyday life. So what I do is that I do a card draw once a week, 3 cards for 2 to 3 days, which means on Sunday, I will sit down and draw 1 card for Monday and Tuesday, 1 card for Wednesday and Thursday, and 1 card for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This setup makes the most sense for me because of my work schedule. If there's a different setup that makes more sense to you, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 card, and then the other have another card, so you just have 3 days and 4 days, that works as well. Just go by whatever your schedule, kind of what your everyday life is like. Do you work 4 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week? Depending on all of that, you can tweak it and draw cards so you have good compartments for your week, essentially. Now, this also comes with an everyday reflection, which means that Monday and Tuesday, I will have the same card, and both days I will sit down and see how the subjects of that card developed on those 2 days. The good thing about this is that it really makes you go deep with the cards. Unlike when you draw 1 card for each day, it's a bit slower and it allows you to really tune into the messages from the card and really feel into the energies that come with it. So if I really think about how the subject developed in those 2 days, I learn a lot more than if I just had 1 day and then it's on to the next card, you know what I mean? So this is not so time intensive, but it does hold a lot of opportunity for depth, which I really like. So this is good for advanced and beginner tarot readers because, you can go deep with a card. If you feel like you've already scratched the surface, you know the surface meaning of cards, but you don't quite know how it really relates to everyday life, then this is a very good practice because you're going to very quickly learn throughout 2 or 3 days the energies of a specific card and how it relates to you personally. Now, the second method that I have is kind of a mid-sized time investment. It's right in the middle. The first one was the least time intense, and the third one will be more time intense, but now we're like right in the middle. So what you do is the classical once a day card draw, and you reflect on it in the morning and the evening, or one of the 2. So there's different ways of doing this. Some people draw the card in the morning, do not look at it at all, and then look at it in the evening and see how it related to the day. Personally, I don't really do that. I draw it in the morning, think a little bit about whether I can boil it down to like 1 sentence advice for the day, and then put the card away. Generally, I usually forget about it. I know that often I say like, oh, daily draws are great because it gives your day a theme. You have something to think about throughout the day. And sometimes I try to do that, but sometimes I also just like to forget about the card, to write down a piece of advice and then completely forget it, and then come back to it in the evening and see like, oh, maybe I should have remembered it in that situation, or oh, it related to this situation very strongly, whether I realized it or not in that moment. during the day. And it helps a lot to set your goals as well, because if you're the kind of person who sets goals every day, not just every week like with the other draw, but every single day, then it is kind of a micromanaging helper to have a tarot card and to help you, think about how you can achieve the goal that you have the day, or even make up the goal that you want to have for the day. Now, the third possibility is a higher time investment. This is what I like to do only on days where I'm actually off work, where I either work from home or I just don't work at all and just have the day completely off. Of course, you can do it if you work in an office or somewhere. You could do this, but for me personally, the day moves too fast if I'm in an office setting for me to do this one. So it works especially well if you feel like you don't have a plan for the day. You know those days where you've worked a lot and then you have a day off and you're like, oh no, I have no idea what to do with my life. What is even happening? You have no concept of structure for the day, no concept of what you might want to do, what you might want to engage with. And this really helps, this third practice, to get you onto a level where your day has a bit of structure, because what we do with this is that we draw 3 cards for the whole day. One for the morning, one for the midday, and one for the evening. You yourself decide what the time frames are. If you get up at 7 in the morning, you may want to say, okay, morning is 7 to 12, then 12 to 4 is the afternoon or midday, and then 4 to 10 is the evening. Whatever works for your daily cycle, it's completely up to you. And why I do this is that it really helps me stay organized if I have 3 themes for the day. I do not do this often, but when I feel myself floundering about, having no idea what I want to do with my goddamn life on this day, then this is something that I can turn to and safely know, okay, I have some structure, I have some idea of what themes might be flying through the air on this day and what I may want to engage with. This is also great if you work from home, because then in your breaks, this can be even just an incentive to take a break and to look at the cards. You can look at all of them at once in the morning, or you can turn them over depending on when the hour, rolls over. I usually look at all of them at once. And then I do try to force myself to take a break and then reflect on the card that I drew for 12 p.m., for 6 p.m., whichever part of the day I'm in. So this spread can really help you to not slip into a rut, because especially on days off or on days where you work from home, sometimes we get a weird dynamic where we just keep watching Netflix. We want to watch one YouTube video with breakfast and then we just keep watching. You know the issue. And this spread sort of helps you to be like, no, this day has a lot of hours and I have 3 themes for the day. So if you struggle with feeling like you don't have time for things, I made a video about that as well. That just came to my mind. I will link it below. If you feel like you don't have time for things, this can also help, because it shows you, here's all these hours. The day isn't just one huge slog and one huge pile of hours, but you can actually, make it into compartments that you can then use more effectively, or use for relaxation, or use for a trip, or go outside, or work, or whatever you want to do. Write, read tarot, do spiritual stuff. There's so many things you can do with your day, and sort of breaking it up into parts helps me personally feel like I have control over it, and like I don't just slog into a slushy of a rut that gets me nowhere. It makes me feel like I accomplished nothing at the end of the day. So that is my emergency method for that. I also have a lot more videos on tarot, about numerology, about beginner mistakes. I will link those down below, and also my Patreon if you want to support me and get some more tarot spreads and journaling prompts every month, and a reading as well. You can check that out. And I also just reopened my Etsy store for tarot readings. So head on over, see if you want to purchase a reading from me. I will gladly do it. If you like this, please subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I love you and I will see you very soon. I hope that you have the greatest of days, the greatest of weeks.